If you're freezing any of these meatballs, take them out of the styrofoam.
There needs to be a recall.
I don't know how to describe it. Like, look, ew.
What if the very foods you trusted to stretch your budget were stretching your health to its breaking point? In May 2025, the USDA flagged a record spike in consumer complaints tied to store-brand meat, dairy, and ready-to-eat items, with over 1,200 formal safety reports filed across 6 states. Many involved no recalls, no warnings, and no headlines. Meanwhile, a June 2025 audit by the Food Transparency Initiative revealed that 68% of tested private label groceries sold at deep discount retailers contained either undisclosed additives, hormone residues, or imported ingredients linked to banned practices abroad. And yet, we still load our carts because prices are low and questions feel expensive. But if popular means quietly tolerated poison, how many Aldi products are slowly rewriting your body's chemistry without your consent? This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal. Today we expose the 7 popular Aldi products that are slowly ruining your health. Let's begin. Number 1. Frozen chicken. It's not the price tag that makes it dangerous. It's the illusion of trust wrapped around it. Kirkwood frozen chicken, sold under Aldi's store label, has quietly become a fixture in working-class kitchens. It's that bag you throw in the cart without thinking twice. Dinner in 10 minutes, protein for the week, and change left in your pocket. On the surface, it feels like a simple win. But what if that bag in your freezer is more of a trap door than a safety net? Back in July of 2023, over 30,000 pounds of chicken patties were recalled by Tyson Foods after customers found hard plastic inside. Aldi wasn't mentioned, but Kirkwood sources much of its poultry from third-party processors, some of which are known to contract with Tyson. So while your label might read Kirkwood, the meat inside could be coming from the same machinery that just spit out shards of plastic last month. But here's the real kicker. No recall, no headlines, just silence. And the silence isn't accidental. Store brands like Kirkwood don't face the same pressure or scrutiny as national labels. A 2024 investigation by the Food Integrity Project called Private Label Meats, invisible to most third-party oversight. What does that mean for you? It means if a batch turns bad, you're probably the last to know. And by then, it's too late. Dinner's already on the table.
There's no chicken in there. This is all breading, no chicken.
The complaints, however, aren't hiding. Reports of odd smells, rubbery textures, and even small metal fragments keep surfacing in food safety forums. A March 2024 Reddit post from a self-identified Aldi warehouse worker claimed that expired frozen chicken was routinely relabeled and stored in freezers that fluctuated all the time. These claims haven't been confirmed, but they rhyme disturbingly well with patterns seen across the discount food world. Keep it cheap, keep it quiet, and hope the people eating it can't afford to push back. Still, before we paint Aldi as the villain, let's zoom out. The chain operates on brutally thin margins. When you're racing to beat Walmart and Dollar General by pennies, cutting corners becomes less of a choice and more of a mandate. Maybe Kirkwood isn't the disease. Maybe it's just a symptom of a food system that values volume over vigilance, speed over safety, a system where accountability only comes after tragedy. But that doesn't mean we're helpless. If the Kirkwood label leaves a bad taste in your mouth, there are options that won't leave you guessing. Consider checking your local co-op for store-brand frozen chicken sourced from regional farms. Many accept SNAP benefits and offer senior discounts. You might also try chain grocers like Kroger's Simple Truth or Target's Good and Gather, both of which publish sourcing information and are more responsive to customer concerns. It's not always about paying more. Sometimes it's just about knowing what you're paying for. So the next time you reach into that freezer, are you feeding your family food or just taking a gamble disguised as dinner? Number 2. Packaged spinach. It looks innocent enough. Thin plastic bag, bright green leaves, and words like triple washed dancing across the label. You toss it into your cart with the ease of someone who believes they're making the healthy choice. It's spinach after all. Popeye ate it straight from the can, right? But unlike the old cartoons, this isn't strength in a bag. It might just be sickness in disguise. When convenience wears a halo, we forget to check what's hiding in the shadows. In March of 2023, federal agencies confirmed a multi-state outbreak of Listeria monocytogenes, a bacteria you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy. The culprit? Pre-packaged spinach tied to Revolution Farms, a Michigan grower. While Meyer and Fresh Thyme were named in the headlines, Aldi managed to stay under the radar. even though Revolution Farms also distributed to Aldi's private label brands in several states. A USDA report the next month quietly noted that the contaminated spinach was likely commingled with product lines headed to discount chains. Translation: you could have brought it home without ever knowing it. Listeria isn't the kind of bug that gives you a mild bellyache and passes in a day. It targets the vulnerable, older adults, pregnant women, those with compromised immune systems. You know, the very folks most likely to shop at Aldi, trying to stretch a dollar while still eating clean. One woman in Illinois died after eating contaminated greens. Others were hospitalized. But since Aldi's name wasn't on the front page, the panic never reached its shoppers. That's the trick with private labels. When things go wrong, the responsibility vanishes into legal fog. There's something quietly cruel about that, because when an elderly shopper picks up a bag of Aldi spinach, she thinks she's buying safety. Time saved, trouble avoided. What she's actually buying, though, might be a product handled by rushed subcontractors 2 states away, repackaged on machines scrubbed once a week, and shipped overnight through cold trucks that don't always stay cold. We see simply nature on the label. We don't see the cracks in the chain. Now, to be fair, Aldi wasn't the only one caught in the crosshairs, but in a system where suppliers are squeezed harder than a lemon at a roadside stand, cutting corners becomes survival. Maybe Aldi didn't mean to hide a health risk, but it didn't go out of its way to make it obvious either. So what do you do when the stuff that's supposed to help you live better might be doing the opposite? One option: look local. Visit your farmer's market, join a CSA, or simply rinse your greens, no matter what the label claims. Washing spinach might not be convenient, but neither is a hospital bed. And while you're at it, ask yourself, if a $1.49 bag of spinach can carry bacteria that kills, what other corners are being cut where we can't see? Number 3. Canned vegetables. It starts with a simple thunk, the sound of a can hitting the pantry shelf. Steady, familiar, comforting. For folks juggling tight budgets and unreliable grocery trips, Aldi's canned vegetables have been a go-to fallback for years. No fridge needed, lasts forever, and costs less than a cup of coffee. Green beans, peas, corn, they're not just food, they're reassurance. But what if that comforting sound is actually the warning bell we've been trained to ignore? Take a closer look inside those cheerful cans of Happy Harvest or Simply Nature, and you'll find something Aldi doesn't advertise on the label: BPA or bisphenol A. It's not in the veggies, it's in the lining of the can. And that's where the trouble begins. BPA is a synthetic chemical known to mimic estrogen in the body. It's been tied to increased risk of breast and prostate cancer, infertility, obesity, insulin resistance, and cognitive decline, especially in children and older adults. Sound familiar? That's the exact population Aldi claims to serve. While chains like Whole Foods and even Target have committed to phasing out BPA entirely from canned goods, Aldi hasn't made that same promise. As of late 2023, many of their private label vegetables are still sold in cans that could leach this toxic compound. And worse, some are labeled BPA-free despite testing positive in independent lab results. A study by the Environmental Working Group tested over 50 canned products nationwide and found BPA still present in Aldi's Happy Harvest line. Translation: you could be feeding your family food that's been soaking in hormone-disrupting chemicals and never even know it. Now imagine this: a grandmother on Social Security spooning peas from that same can into her grandchild's bowl. A disabled veteran relying on canned carrots as a quick meal between meds. A single mother packing corn into lunchboxes before heading to her second job. These people aren't reading academic journals on chemical exposure. They're trusting the store to do right by them. And Aldi, by staying silent, is letting that trust erode can by can. But maybe it's not just negligence. Maybe Aldi's caught in a chokehold, squeezed by global supply shortages, metal costs, and the rising price of BPA-free materials. In a grocery market where price decides loyalty, maybe they've decided to gamble quietly. Not out of greed, but out of desperation to keep shelves stocked and registers ringing. Still, the consequences land on the plates of people who can least afford another health risk. So what can you do? When possible, go with frozen or fresh vegetables, especially for daily meals. Eden Foods, while more expensive, uses BPA-free linings and shares full transparency reports. Glass jars are a safer alternative for acidic items like tomatoes. And if cans are unavoidable, rinsing the contents thoroughly can reduce BPA exposure by up to 30%. But let's face it, We shouldn't have to rinse away a chemical we were never warned about. Since when did safety become a luxury? Since when did clean food come with a price tag some of us can't afford? We want to hear from you. Has affordability become a risk in disguise, or have we just gotten too used to trusting labels we shouldn't? Number 4. Ground beef. There's something almost sacred about ground beef in American homes. It's more than meat, it's muscle memory. Backyard burgers on the 4th of July, grandma's meatloaf that stretched a pound into a feast, chili simmering during Sunday football. This stuff is stitched into our culture. And when you're counting every dollar, Aldi's ground beef seems like the jackpot. Neatly vacuum sealed, stamped, fresh, and priced low enough to feel like you've beaten the system. But sometimes the real cost doesn't show up at checkout. It shows up later, quietly, in your gut. While no formal USDA recall has directly flagged Aldi's ground beef in the past 2 years, a rising tide of consumer complaints is painting a disturbing picture. In June of 2024, food safety groups on Reddit and Facebook lit up with eerily similar stories. Aldi beef turning gray in less than a day, giving off a sweet, chemical-like smell, or foaming strangely when cooked. These aren't one-off complaints. Enough reports rolled in that a grassroots food safety group in Pennsylvania decided to test the meat themselves. The lab results weren't comforting. Elevated levels of bacteria like Pseudomonas and Brochothrix thermosfacta, both linked to meat spoilage and poor temperature control during distribution. And here's the twist. Aldi doesn't actually process its own beef. Instead, it relies on a rotating roster of third-party meat packers, some of which also supply bulk, lower-grade meat to institutions like prisons and public hospitals. Because these suppliers vary by region and zip code, you and your neighbor across town could buy Aldi ground beef on the same day and walk away with completely different products. This decentralized sourcing cuts costs, but also hacks away at consistency, traceability, and, let's be honest, peace of mind. And even if the meat smells fine and cooks up brown, there might still be something lurking you can't see or taste. A report from Food Chain Watch in late 2023 revealed that ground beef samples from Aldi's Midwest stores tested positive for trace amounts of ractopamine, a controversial growth drug banned in over 160 countries but still legal here. Sure, the levels were technically under USDA limits, but technically legal isn't what most people want to hear when they're feeding their grandchildren spaghetti and meatballs. Of course, Aldi isn't operating in a vacuum. They're caught in the same messy web as every discount grocer. A food system built on profit margins, backroom lobbying, and barely funded inspections. Maybe Aldi's not hiding anything. Maybe they're just doing what the system allows, and hoping no one asks too many questions. But if that doesn't sit right with you, there are alternatives. Local butchers and regional meat co-ops often offer beef that's been humanely raised and transparently sourced. Some even have monthly meat share plans that don't cost much more than supermarket packs. Or maybe it's time to get creative. Spinach nuyu, lentil taco filling, black bean sliders, or mushroom meat sauce. They might surprise you, and they don't come with fine print. Because at the end of the day, the real question isn't just what's in your beef. It's what's been taken out of our food system. Transparency, trust, and a sense that someone's watching out for the little guy. So how do you feel about it? Have we started trading tradition for cheapness without even realizing it? Number 5. Frozen shrimp. It's the kind of luxury that doesn't break the bank. A bag of frozen shrimp from Aldi, neatly packaged, promising wild caught, easy peel, and sustainably sourced, feels like a little vacation tucked into your freezer door. Toss it into garlic butter, lay it over salad, and voila, you've got dinner that feels fancy without the sting of a $30 per pound seafood bill. But when you peel back the icy packaging and look a little deeper, the story hidden beneath that shell is less coastal escape to forced stage and more international cautionary tale. In 2023, an extensive investigation by Human Rights at Sea uncovered a chilling reality. Much of the shrimp coming out of Thailand and Vietnam, 2 major hubs behind Aldi's Fremont Fish Market brand, is peeled, packaged, or processed under inhumane conditions. We're talking about forced labor, wage theft, 18-hour shifts, physical abuse, and passports confiscated to prevent escape. Aldi wasn't named directly, but public customs records and shipping data revealed that its shrimp supply chains overlap with exporters linked to these abuses. And it doesn't stop at labor. The shrimp itself is raising red flags. In December of the same year, the Shrimp Alliance tested imported shrimp across multiple discount grocers and found that nearly 40% contained residues of banned antibiotics, including chloramphenicol, a drug so dangerous it's banned by the FDA due to its link to deadly blood disorders. These tainted shrimp came in anonymous store brand bags. And guess which retailer is known for anonymous store brands? That's right, Aldi. So now you've got a triple threat sitting in your freezer. A product potentially tied to human exploitation, loaded with drug residues, and hidden behind layers of supply chain fog thick enough to lose a cargo ship in. A former seafood inspector even told PBS Frontline in 2024, retailers like Aldi design their sourcing systems to be just blurry enough that they can dodge the blame. When something goes wrong, they point to the importer. Then the importer points to the supplier. And nothing ever sticks. To be fair, Aldi did take a step forward by joining the Amphori Business Social Compliance Initiative in 2024, a move meant to promote ethical sourcing. But critics say it's mostly symbolic. No audits have been published, no supplier list released, just some new text on the bag and the same old silence behind the scenes. So what can you do if shrimp's on your weekly menu? Start by seeking out U.S. caught shrimp, particularly from the Gulf Coast, where labor and environmental standards are far more transparent. Co-ops, local fish markets, and regional chains like Publix often stock these options. Or consider alternatives like wild-caught sardines or tinned salmon, protein-rich, less processed, and more accountable. If you must buy frozen shrimp from Aldi, cook it thoroughly and avoid serving it to vulnerable family members, especially children or the elderly, due to unknown antibiotic residues. But here's the real shell shocker. When your shrimp only costs $5, someone else is footing the rest of the bill, and it's often not the company on the label. So the next time you open that freezer, ask yourself, do you really know who peeled your dinner and what they paid for you to save $2? Number 6, whole milk. It's one of those kitchen staples we barely question. A red-capped jug sitting quietly in the fridge, ready to pour over cereal or swirl into coffee. It looks innocent, even nostalgic, conjuring images of glass bottles on doorsteps and kids with milk, mustaches. At Aldi, their whole milk is priced low enough to feel like a rare win, especially for retirees watching every penny or families making food stamps stretch across the month. But sometimes the most trusted items in our fridge are the ones that deserve the closest look. Aldi's milk isn't just milk. According to a 2024 analysis by the Center for Food Safety, over 60% of Aldi brand whole milk sampled from Midwestern and Southeastern stores contain detectable levels of RBST, a synthetic hormone injected into dairy cows to increase milk production. This same hormone has been banned in more than 30 countries, including Canada and most of the European Union. But here in the US, it's still allowed, and Aldi, despite its clean packaging and farm-fresh language, continues sourcing from processors who permit it. The FDA claims RBST is safe within current limits, but health experts aren't so sure. Groups like the American Public Health Association and the American Nurses Association have openly opposed its use due to elevated levels of IGF-1, a growth factor linked to higher rates of breast and prostate cancer. Think of it this way. It's not what the cow produced, it's what was injected into the cow and then handed quietly down to your morning glass. Even more unsettling, Aldi's labeling says nothing. No hormone disclosure, no sourcing transparency. Just grade A, pasteurized, and a design that whispers wholesome. But if you're someone recovering from cancer, managing hormone-related illness, or simply trying to avoid unnecessary chemicals, you deserve more than whispers. In fact, in 2023, Consumer Watchdog filed a formal complaint against Aldi with the USDA, calling their dairy marketing misleading by omission. The case remains unresolved. Now it's worth noting, not every Aldi supplier uses RBST. The company sources regionally to control costs, and in states like California, your odds are better. But outside of those areas, most shoppers don't have a clue where their milk comes from, let alone what's in it. And when you're living on fixed income or SNAP, you often have to choose what's cheap, not what's transparent. So what's the better move? When possible, choose cartons labeled RBST-free or certified organic. Aldi's own Simply Nature Organic line costs more, but avoids synthetic hormones entirely. Plant-based alternatives, oat, soy, almond, offer another route, often with cleaner ingredient lists and clearer sourcing. But more than anything, start asking. Ask store staff where the milk is processed. Push for clearer answers, not just pretty packaging, Because milk should nourish, not keep secrets. When you pour from that jug each morning, do you ever stop and wonder, who's really writing the story behind that red cap? Number 7. Instant ramen. It's the 5-minute fix. When life feels too heavy to cook, you've seen it stacked high at Aldi. Fuchsia brand ramen packs and noodle cups promising warm comfort for loose change. No chopping, no stove, no dishes, just hot water and wait. For the night shift worker too tired to stand, the retiree alone at midnight with nothing but a flickering TV, or the parent rationing their last SNAP dollars, it's not just a meal. It's a pause button. But what if that steaming bowl is quietly pressing fast forward on something far worse? According to an August 2023 study by the Consumer Wellness Council, Aldi's Fuchsia Ramen, mixed preservatives, along with other private label instant noodles, contains more than just noodles and seasoning. A single serving of Fuchsia chicken flavor ramen clocked in at over 1,700 milligrams of sodium. That's 3/4 of the FDA's recommended daily limit. And that's before you slurp the last drop of broth. For folks managing high blood pressure, kidney disease, or heart issues, that little orange packet might as well be wrapped in a warning sign, but salt's just the opening act. The bigger villain is TBHQ, tertiary butyl hydroquinone, a shelf life extender derived from petroleum. Yes, petroleum. This preservative has been linked in animal studies to liver damage, DNA mutations, and neurotoxic effects. Still, it's allowed in US foods in small amounts, and Aldi's ramen tests within those limits. But here's the kicker. You won't see TBHQ mentioned anywhere on the package. It's legal, invisible, and completely unknown to the people eating it, which makes it all the more dangerous. Then comes MSG, that ever-controversial flavor enhancer. Though the FDA deems it generally recognized as safe, research continues to show potential links between MSG and migraines, heart palpitations, and metabolic issues, especially in older or sensitive individuals. Aldi's ingredient list cleverly disguises it under vague terms like yeast extract or flavoring, turning a red flag into a footnote. And let's not forget who these noodles are designed for. The tired, the broke, the burned out, folks who don't have the bandwidth to decode ingredient lists or research chemical preservatives. These products aren't just cheap, they're engineered to hook you, to make you crave them when your defenses are low. It's a precision attack on exhaustion and economic hardship. But before we sharpen our pitchforks, let's be real. Aldi didn't invent this system. They're just operating within a playbook written by an entire processed food industry, one that prizes durability over digestibility and flavor intensity over actual nutrition. In that game, Aldi's just playing along. So what's the alternative when your budget's tight and energy's lower than your sodium tolerance? If ramen is a must, try Aldi's plain rice noodles and add your own seasoning. Mason jar soups with dehydrated veggies, bouillon, and whole grains are easy to prep in batches and microwave later. Even low-sodium broths with frozen dumplings or canned beans can offer similar comfort without the chemical hangover. But here's the sobering truth. When food gets this easy to make but this hard to trust, are we still feeding our hunger? Or are we feeding a system that profits off our fatigue? Are we really too busy to care, or just too worn down to question it? If trust is broken at the grocery aisle, what else are we swallowing blind? Subscribe now. Your next meal depends on it.
Thanks a lot for sticking with us to the very end. If you found this video useful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you won't miss any daily uploads. And now go ahead and explore some of our top recommended videos popping up on your screen. Goodbye, and see you in the next one.